in episode 3, watching Oliver take on the Mahler twins, I was like, well, this is like very intense. Yeah. Not cutting corners here.
Definitely, and not mincing any of the action.
Yeah, right. Welcome back to the Breakroom. Invincible Season 3 has finally premiered, and boy, does it remind us that we're normal men with thinning hair and bad backs that can barely jog. We're gonna get into some of our thoughts and questions about these first 3 episodes, as well as take some questions from the live chat as well. I'm Brandon Barrick, and joining me today, he's not just one, he's not two, he's 15 of him. It's Evan Yee.
I got bodies everywhere.
Tearing him up. And before we get into these episodes, don't forget we will be streaming live on New Rockstar's YouTube and Breakroom Twitch on Super Bowl Sunday, an hour before kickoff, roughly around 2:30 p.m. Pacific. Please join us. We're going to be watching any new trailers coming out, all of the crazy ads, and watch what is bound to be an awesome halftime show. We're doing live reactions. You'll see how the sauce is made. It'll be live.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have lots of dips.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I'm scared, but I'm ready to do it.
Yeah, so again, that's an hour before kickoff, and we're probably going to be streaming through the halftime show and ending maybe right before the game ends or somewhere in the third quarter. But just so your timing, as far as you guys are aware, we'll probably watch all the old trailers that we already got this week.
Sure.
Because they'll show them again.
But maybe new footage.
Yeah,
maybe new footage.
Bets on that? You think any new footage?
I think there will be some new footage because they want like a little bit of news tied to it. I could see it happening for Fantastic Four. There's like a new little scene in there because I also don't think they're gonna play the full clip, full trailer that we saw because it's long.
Oh yeah, it is long.
They're gonna do a little shorter.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I also, after the Fantastic Four trailer aired, I was getting served a lot of the like Instagram reels and stuff of like, remember at Comic-Con how there was the drone show and there was the drone Galactus in the air? Right. I was like, man, if this Super Bowl was on like ABC or something for some reason.
Ooh, if it was
they would have
done
it.
They would have done a little something
in the sky just to do it. Everyone would be like, "Who's that purple guy?"
Like over the suit. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool. I think we'll get a Thunderbolts trailer too. Yeah. We know there's going to be a Novocaine spot. I just found out from the most recent Novocaine spot, his name in that is Thomas Kane, which puts me back in. I'm back in. It's also going to be a Smurfs trailer?
Smurfs trailer.
I don't know.
From Rihanna.
Rihanna is Smurfette.
Yeah. And we're going to talk. Someone's asking, are we going to talk about commercials too? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever commercial we'll see, we'll be watching, and we'll try to hit it all.
Yeah. I know that there's going to be a Stoke iced coffee commercial.
Let's go.
With the Wrexham folks.
I got to have a Stoke hat when I went to go watch Wrexham live.
That's right. Yeah. And what's his name is in the trailer? Gambit.
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum. That's doing some filthy dancing.
Filthy.
We also want to remind you to check out nerdriot.shop, where we have our new Fired Up Human Torch shirt. Woo. And also our Devourer. Oh man, that's a hard word to say. Devourer of Worlds Galactus shirt.
Nice.
Very cool shirts. We also got tons of stuff at nerdriot.shop. Check it out. Always changing, always new. Let's get into it, okay? What are your general thoughts on these first 3 episodes, Evan? We're back. We're in Invincible. Everything's going great, and there's no problems.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about it. Certainly no problems. We were talking about it a little bit earlier before we started the episode, but like my favorite thing about the show is like, when is the other shoe going to drop? Yeah. You know, they set up all these situations constantly of like, oh, this is like how you might expect this to go. And then something else wild happens. Yeah. Like, I mean, the opening of episode 3 is so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
We have, what are their names? We have Tether Tyrant and Mag Maniac.
Yeah.
Kind of like going about their
These
day.
2 guys who we saw in season 2.
They see this kid. They don't want to, bother the kid, and they're like, let's try to make good. We really just need money to pay our rent, and everyone can relate to that.
But you can't rob a bank. That's
you can't rob
money. But they're trying to get jobs. They're trying to make it work. They almost slip back into it. He's like, no, don't do it. And they do something into it, they get in a fight, and then Invincible's beating him up, and then his brother shows up, and they don't want to kill a kid, but it gets him caught.
Yeah, and they're just, but we were also saying that, like, they kind of save money by not having those guys talk.
They saved a lot of money. just the music, you know.
Yeah.
And they made that joke in season 2, right, about
Yes.
ways to cut corners and save money.
Uh-huh.
You know, we're lucky enough to get this show a year after the last season, you know, and there's going to be no big mid-season break like there was in season 2.
Yeah.
So Amazon is pushing. They're trying to get the show out faster, but we know animation takes a long time, and I think part of the way to get it out faster is to, like, make the animation as simple as possible when you can.
When you can. Well, in that vein, like, did you think that animation of episode 1 kind of like looked like they cut some corners there?
There were some of the fights that I thought, maybe looked a little simpler than they could be.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I went back and I was rewatching, you know, the end of season 1 when Nolan and Mark fight. And that's a very intense fight that they really went out of their way to do, like, very graphic, very impressive animation on. You know, it was a big fight.
Yeah,
It's very important to the story. And I think, like, you know, something with, like, them fighting Doc Seismic, having all these characters around, like, you got to simplify the action where you can.
Yeah.
And I don't knock them for it too much. And I think it gets better as, like, the season goes on.
Yeah.
Like, in episode 3, watching Oliver take on the Mahler twins, I was like, well, this is, like, very intense.
Yeah.
Not cutting corners here.
Definitely, and not mincing any of the action.
Yeah, right. So you know, it's balanced, and I think the show does it well.
Yeah.
When it can, and I do like, I don't need intense fight scenes all the time. I kind of like the bigger picture questions that they're asking in this season.
Yeah.
Like who's right, who's wrong, who gets to make those decisions on behalf of the planet, on behalf of the GDA, on behalf of the Guardians, on behalf of Mark himself. Like, who's in charge here? And really no one's in charge. And it's just it's an arms race of power is what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, we, you know, in that same exact vein, right? Like, we get, I think comic readers know this, but, like, we got that flashback episode with Cecil.
Yes, that was very fun.
Yeah, and we meet Radcliffe, like him and his mentor, as he's kind of like teaching him how to do things. What's the quote that they say? You can either be the good guys or the guys that save the world, right?
And you can't be both.
Can't be both.
Radcliffe, voiced by Bokeem Woodbine,
right?
Who was Shocker.
Yeah,
in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah,
that was a fun little cameo. Some good voice cameos this season. Some we know that are coming up. We won't spoil if you haven't read the news about them yet. But Xolo Mardueña showing up as the two dudes from the future.
Oh yeah.
Voicing both of those twins, Dropkick and something Punch. I forget the other one's name.
Captain Canada is saying that they look like clones or kids of Rex.
Those two boys from the future? Interesting theory. They are from the future, and I will say, I don't want to spoil anything, but we will see more of them this season.
Yeah, I mean, we are talking, you know, we're kind of caging it there, right? Like, obviously we're going to, you know, talk about these 3 episodes, and there's some maybe events in the comics that we can dive into a little bit with kind of the varying knowledge that Brandon and I have, but this show is closely adhering to the comics.
Yeah, these first 3 episodes are a lot. Most of the story is in the comics. Around the, like, 48 through 53, I think somewhere in there is where a lot of these stories are coming from.
Yeah.
Some slight little tweaks here and there. I mean, obviously the biggest change on the show, as I understand it right now from the comics, is that Shrinking Ray is still alive. In the comics, Shrinking Ray was male.
Yeah.
And in the show, they're female. But they're still alive, and it seems to be like, you know, Rex is crushing on Shrinking Ray a little bit. You know, he was there for her. He was would go visit her in the hospital. She was, like, healing up. He was there when she was, like, nearly killed.
Dude,
and that's when he lost his hand.
That scene when she is like, when they have Immortal's like, we got to clean this up.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't know. Like, this is, like, a lot.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
He's like, yeah, I mean, you don't have to do this. Like, we almost died together.
Yeah.
Like, that was really, for me, I was like, whoa. That, like, didn't think they would even address that in that way. Right? Like, that is such a real moment between the two of them.
And it's something that the show has done really well. I think it did it a lot more in the first season, too. Kind of talking about, like, you know, these questions outside of just, like, what it means to be a hero.
Yeah.
But also, like, what are the long-term ramifications of these decisions?
Right.
You know, this is a very, like, Watchmen-esque kind of question. Like, what else happens with these heroes around?
Yeah.
Something that The Boys dives into a little bit.
Right.
What does it mean to have these powered individuals?
And it's interesting that Amazon has kind of chosen this lane of, like, you know, Marvel's got their thing, DC's got this thing. What can we do? Okay, maybe we get these properties that people have been loving reading in various forms and do this, like, let the creative team do this weird subversion or this little tweak off of like not your non-standard hero fare.
Because I think that happens every few, not even generations, like every few decades or something. It's like the narrative kind of changes on how we view these kind of hero stories. You know, I think of like the big change from how heroes were portrayed in like the 90s and early 2000s. And then when like the Dark Knight happens, it's like, oh, now it's very different. And Marvel kind of took the same route of like, what if they were in like a realistic world that we live in now? And then it's like we get tired of that and we move on to like, well, what are the other stories we could tell? And then it feels like with Superman coming out this summer, it seems like James Gunn wants to go back to, what was it like to have like this Silver Age representation of these heroes? And almost Fantastic Four a little bit too, right? Obviously, they're probably going to leave that universe by the end of that movie. Right. We're going to get a peek into this kind of retro-futurism, idealized version of these heroes.
Yeah. And something that, you know, I think that has been brought up on the show before when, especially when like Coy Jandreau has been on the show, like about Superman being like a god figure, right? And like, you know, with Gunn saying like chapter 1 of this saga of DC things is going to be gods and monsters, it's like, okay, are we going to treat all of these heroes as like gods, right? Like some of these people that are like unattainable in a weird way. And it'll be interesting, I think, it's seeing that Superman, all those kissing scenes between him and Lois, like, where do we bridge that gap between like humanity and goddom and heroism?
At the Break Room, we love food, but it can be tough to eat well when you don't have the time to cook, okay? Unless you use Factor. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating deliciously and eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu, each week it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. For instance, if you're trying to lose weight, you can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals. I just heated up the grilled pork chop and smoked cheddar cauliflower. Ooh, and it's got some roasted zucchini and poblanos. It smells delicious. The studio will stink of delicious food for hours after I consume this, okay? Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/breakroom50off and use code breakroom50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code breakroom50off at factormeals.com/breakroom50off to get 50 off plus free shipping on your first box.
Anyways, back to Invincible.
Well, let's talk about how we kind of kick off this season, right? We end season 2 with Mark. You know, he meets Anissa. She beats the crap out of him. She warns him that someone else is coming. And then he gets into this big fight with Angstrom Levy. Like, immediately after that, right? Yeah. He winds up traveling through dimensions, winds up in, like, this future, or in this lost dimension where he kills Angstrom Levy, as far as we know.
Yeah.
You know, the end of episode 3 kind of puts that in question. But he kills him. And he's kind of, when he goes back to Debbie, you know, he's like, I'm breaking up with Amber. I'm out of school.
Yeah.
I need to focus on me. I need to get stronger. And I need to be more emotionally invincible. Yeah. Right? Because I can't lose my temper again like I did with Angstrom. And I killed him. And I didn't mean to. I thought he was stronger, right? And that's where we left him. Now we meet him here. It's been about 90 days. Yeah. We learned from Donald Ferguson, right? And my boy's buff, right? He's working out. He's stronger. He's got this awesome machine. He's fighting the 8-year-old giant.
He's lifting glaciers, the heaviest things on the planet.
I just love the parents. They're like paying the parents off. And they're like, yeah, we're working on a cure. Don't worry. Here's your check. Let us beat up your little 8-year-old boy. Don't worry about it.
God. How do you think, like, he did not come out of the womb like that, obviously?
I hope not.
But how do you think it happened?
I think it could be like a Monster Girl thing where maybe he does transform back into a little boy at some point. We've just never seen him like that.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Or he's stuck this way. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where he lives. I don't know who's dealing with those poops. I don't know, man. God. I hope he's potty trained.
You think he's just pooping in the ocean?
I think he uses the Hoover Dam.
Yeah, he probably uses the Hoover Dam.
Yeah. But so Mark's training. He's getting stronger. And then we see, like, I mean, it's a joyous 3 minutes of the show where we're like, Mark and Cecil are getting along, they're working together. He's joking around with Rex, blah, blah, blah. And then Multi-Paul shows up and he kills like 50 of them. And it's like, geez, dude.
And there's like no hesitancy.
No.
Right? He's like, he obviously.
He sees Rex almost die. And that triggers him a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Him and Rex, I love their little bond, their little bromance they got going on. Because remember in season 2, he's the one that kind of brought Rex back from his PTSD a little bit.
Yeah.
After Rex had kind of been rebuilt after the Lizard League bit his hand off and all that. Mark kind of brings him back, and they're cool. They're getting along, no hard feelings.
Yeah.
You know, even Rex is like, hey, you should start dating Eve. Why don't you call her? You know, they're fine. They're getting along. And so when he sees them almost die, he kind of like gives like and just starts ripping up Multi-Paul's, right? Which is like very intense. Multi-Paul, of course, duplicates twin brother, who we had seen both times the Maulers had escaped prison in the previous 2 seasons. Multi-Paul was in one of the cells.
Yeah.
And I assume maybe he got out when Engstrom Levy helped the Maulers escape.
Yeah.
Or at some point.
Right.
We know that he's trying to get revenge for his sister. So maybe her duplicate was killed and he broke out.
And he also is like allegedly working as an assassin.
Yeah, he's always been like a villain.
Yeah, so he's not like heroic at all.
Even though he has this, I don't know who made their suits.
Right.
He's still keeping it.
Do you think he keeps one of himself like sealed away somewhere?
If he doesn't, he's dumb. But that's got to be a boring existence. Just be like reading doing your crossword puzzle. Oh, I'm dying again. Oh, I died somewhere else. Because remember, they feel all the deaths.
They feel it, yeah.
Which is like the intensity of all.
Yeah,
that.
you probably as that extra body like got to keep yourself like meaningfully occupied.
Yeah.
You know, you're working out. You're just how do you avoid that pain? I don't know.
But regardless, you know, Mark kind of loses it, kills a bunch of them, and we see that like, you know, he's been working on his strength. Obviously, he's stronger than he's ever been.
Yeah.
And I think this is a different Mark who, in the previous 2 seasons, was always kind of unsure of his abilities. Wasn't sure if he was strong enough. Now he's like, I'm strong enough. I'm the strongest guy on the planet.
Yeah.
I should be in charge. And I don't think he's been working on that like rage control. Clearly.
Yeah.
Because him and Cecil get into it like immediately. When he finds out Cecil's been using D.A. Sinclair to build these Reanimen.
He brings Darkwing back. Darkwing 2.
Darkwing 2 is back,
which
right?
I never thought we'd see Darkwing again.
Yeah. So he was like, obviously, the first Darkwing was killed.
Yeah.
Nightboy. Nightboy took over, but he kind of went crazy in Midnight City and started killing the villains. And so Mark's angry about this. But this is like an interesting argument, right? Because from Cecil's perspective, right, you have a 19-year-old kid who's super strong, who in his DNA is Viltrumite. His dad, you know, who we learned he never really trusted, but he couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
You know, his dad almost wiped out the planet to prepare for a Viltrumite invasion. So he's kind of like a little cagey on Mark. And I guess you can make the argument, did Cecil show too much of his hand by showing all the weapons he has to use against Mark? Both the Reanimen and the like sonic device that is implanted into Mark's head. Was that too much to show?
I think so, because I think Cecil should have like once Mark like wiped out a bunch of the Reanimen in the White Room, like he probably should have been like, all right, Mark, like what do you want? You know? Because that's like so it's crazy to reveal you have the kill switch, you know?
But I think you need to show Mark that like you can be stopped, right? Because if Mark thinks I can't be stopped at all, then every decision I make should be the right one.
Yeah.
And no one should go against my questioning because only I know the things. In this show, Mark is our protagonist. So as the audience, we empathize, we sympathize with him.
Yeah.
We see things from his perspective. But I appreciate them giving us the Cecil backstory and kind of showing us that, like, you know, I think he makes a good point. Should D.A. Sinclair and Nightwing never be used again and just locked away in cells forever?
Yeah.
Or should their talents be used for good as far as they can be?
Right.
I don't know. It's an interesting question.
And then we see, you know, we see why he thinks that way. He learned the lesson from Radcliffe. Radcliffe brings back the 2 people that got Cecil's skin all burned off.
Right.
But Cecil even though they save him in that moment, he kills them both.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that scene where he meets Nolan at the end is like a perfect example of him being like, all right, let's embrace this kind of philosophy of just like, okay, let's make the choice to save the world, right?
Yeah.
But what happens when that choice does become the wrong choice, you know? And,
Right.
and you didn't do enough on the other end to back it up. So,
Yeah.
I
And
don't
or
know.
like, is Mark making the right choices? Just
Yeah.
because he's super strong and half alien, does he, you know, he didn't earn that. It was just given to him.
Yeah.
Does he get to make those decisions on behalf of everyone? I don't know.
Yeah.
And from Cecil's perspective, how long can he trust this guy? Because he even came back and he's like, no, my dad's cool now.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. I'm going to rehab my dad. And they're like, that guy? I don't think so. So I don't know. I'm torn. I
Yeah.
kind of see Cecil's point here. This is like the old Marvel Civil War argument where it's like, I
Yeah,
see Tony's point.
yeah, you can see
You know, I
both
see
sides
his
of it,
perspective
yeah.
of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's tough. But man, Mark, like, losing his cool and just like ripping up those Reanimen. And I really like the sequence where he flies to the Guardians.
Yeah.
And immediately Cecil's like, we cannot let him get there.
Yeah.
He gets there and it kind of freaks the Guardians out too. Because from their perspective, they're like, well, we're also superpowered individuals.
Yeah.
You know,
He
what
must
if,
have
what if
all that
Cecil
against
decides to like trying to get, you know, it's,
100%.
it's this really mixed thing that
Yeah.
I think, and I love the schism that forms and they split off. And I just love the
Yeah.
Immortal being like, ugh, here we go again. Because from the Immortal's perspective, he's been alive forever, for a very long time, for
Yeah.
most of human history. And he's like, I see this constantly.
I mean,
You know, I just see people constantly like in their own heads. And you know, the Immortal's thinking of on a timeline of
Yeah,
like
it was-
centuries.
Yeah, exactly.
And these guys are thinking of just right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, who cares? He's like,
It's-
let them go. Who cares? They'll be back.
I
Who
mean, the
cares?
Immortal is so interesting to me and also boring as a character, but like,
Right.
it's also just like, yeah, okay. This is also someone like, if you think from his perspective, he probably thought until Omni-Man showed up that he was the strongest one on Earth.
We learned that was the protocol. He should have been the
Yeah.
one that
Oh,
talked to
that's right.
Omni-Man
Yeah,
first.
yeah. And he would have led with his fists or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
That's what Donald says, or Cecil says. Yeah, it's. I mean, and also like that scene when they're the Guardians of the Globe are fighting. Most of them, right, are fighting against the Reanimen as a team. It's fun to get this kind of like retribution for the Guardians of the Globe headquarters, where the last
Right.
time we saw something like that, there they all got killed.
Yeah, yeah.
But they are all working together. So yeah, this split, this schism happens, right? We get the Guardians of the Globe split up into two different groups here. You know, we got Bulletproof, Monster Girl, Rudy, Rex, and Shrinking Ray on one side. They go to inhabit the old teen team headquarters, named TBD. And we got Shapesmith, Black Samson, Immortal, and Kate on the other. And you know, Rudy and Black Samson have a really interesting exchange where he's like, hey,
I did like this.
Invincible's the strongest one on Earth, and one day I might need that.
Yeah, Black Samson being like, I know it's just not about Monster Girl. Like, that's not the only reason you're doing this. Yeah, and Rudy being like, listen, I'm a practical, smart dude. This is the strongest guy on the planet. I'm gonna stay on his good side.
Yeah, yeah. Also, the fact that, you know, I really like. I mean, that's one of the best things about this show is that there's so many characters that they give you just enough to be interested in, but like not enough where you're like, I don't have their full story yet, right?
Right.
Like we know Monster Girl is like every time she turns into a monster, she gets a little bit younger. I guess it's unclear right now, I guess, if she could offset that, if she just didn't turn into a monster for like 5 years, if she could get all that.
Oh,
time
she would
back.
grow a little bit?
But
okay.
every time I see her in the monster form, I think, okay, she's chosen this moment to be significant enough.
And she monsters out in that moment. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
She was like, I need to protect Mark, you know?
And a lot of last season was her and Rudy going back and forth. You know, and her telling Rudy, like, stop trying to, like, save me.
Yeah.
This is my choice. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
My body, my choice. Let me turn into a little girl. It's okay.
And Rudy's working on another secret project.
I know. That's not going to be good. Rudy, my guy.
While we're on this topic, actually, Drogo asking a great question in the live chat. Do you guys think the power levels of the characters is portrayed consistently?
This is a great question.
Right? Because
how do these worms... You know, I did appreciate the sentence of exposition Doc Seismic had of like, they were forged in the high pressure of the earth.
Yes.
Which makes them stronger. Which we know that that race of aliens, whose name I forget right now, that one of Nolan's books was about, that are born on like a high gravity planet, made them strong enough to be able to fight Viltrumites.
That's right. Yeah.
So that kind of feeds together. I also forgot rewatching something from season 1. I think the first episode or one of the early episodes when we first meet Doc Seismic. Every time he uses powers, he gives himself like a little concussion. So he gets crazier and crazier. So the idea that he's like sitting in the, I love the idea that he was sitting in the prison, slowly feeling everyone's heartbeats, slowly waking up these creatures on the earth, but all that's just making him crazy. And he's getting crazy.
His goal just gets so distorted.
Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah.
He
was just like, I just need to know my dog's okay.
Yeah. Where's my dog? Wait a second. There's a giant worm down there and some spiders. Like, how was the spider web stronger than the Immortal? I don't know.
Yeah, that.
And it's like all of that. That's fine. I mean, this is a fair question, right? This is a question I think that you can apply to most IP.
Yeah.
It's 100%. The same question of like The Walking Dead of like, why are they still getting bit by zombies?
Yeah.
Because it makes it interesting. Why does Superman or the Hulk is constantly getting caught, right? Even though in theory, everything you do to him makes him stronger. Like they always find a way around it because you have to tell a story. So it's like, I get it. Sometimes I get frustrated too when it's like, well, how is this worm stopping Mark when we saw him fly through a creature before?
Yeah, I mean, he's beating up kaiju left and right.
Yeah. It can feel frustrating, but I just like the idea that, I can see that he's still just a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
And he's making tactical errors.
Well, also, like, to bring it towards the end of episode 3, how did the gun that the Maulers had stun Mark so quickly?
It was like some sort of nerve. He still has a human nervous system, so he's able. It was able to work that way.
Yeah.
The Maulers are also very smart. They're pretty smart people. Maulers gone for good?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Oh,
both
that's
Maulers
a great
killed
question.
by Oliver, and if not one's left to rebuild the other.
Right. I mean, was there a third Mauler?
Ooh, a secret Mauler.
The
Mauler triplets.
Kate's like, hey, I got a secret. Don't tell anyone, but you
I
leave one.
Wasn't it when Rudy, Robot at the time, worked with the Maulers to make the Rudy clone? Wasn't it the Robot had brought back the Maulers at that point?
I think he did.
Because they had been like stopped fully. I think he did bring them.
So there's a world too where Angstrom Levy could also revive. At the end of episode 3, full spoilers, here we go. We get a voice that sounds a lot like Angstrom.
And in the credits, it does say it is Sterling K. Brown.
Okay, yeah.
But we know that there's infinite Angstroms out there. We didn't see Big Head. We just saw Inspector Gadget, Dr. Claw style, just the hand, right, operating the little flying thing. Which, if you go back to season 1, the GDA had like flying drones like that with red eyes.
Yeah.
They were a little bigger.
And also, I think Cecil. I think in one of the episodes, you can infer that Cecil got some of the information from that drone as well. A drone that looked like it, right? It's also like, I wouldn't put it past Angstrom to be like, let me disguise it to look like GDA.
Oh, so drones. He thinks it's, I mean, he did think it was.
Yeah.
There's also there was the guy in the first episode when Mark's doing the weight training who like speaks into a ring. And he's Mark's going, man. I don't think we really know who that guy's working with yet. If like he's somehow helping Angstrom, I don't know. So someone's keeping tabs on him. It's probably Angstrom, Levy.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe he could bring back the Maulers if he wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know which Angstrom this is.
Right.
In theory.
And I think the idea is that the Angstrom we saw become the big head Angstrom is the one from Mark's present universe. I think is like maybe the idea, but that also doesn't have to be the case, right?
Which Angstrom built the machine.
Yeah. Because I think that, because this Angstrom didn't want to hurt Mark, but all the other Angstroms were in worlds.
Oh, that's true, where Mark did bad stuff. And then once he gets all that knowledge, he's like, no, I gotta stab him.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see like which of these leftover Angstroms.
I think it's the same Angstrom that he thought he killed.
Oh, you think he just?
I think somehow he had some tech in him that kept him alive. Maybe another Angstrom came and got him or something.
The Guardians of the Globe were like, "Oh, I feel bad. He's just lying there.
We gotta help him. We are the Guardians."
Last note on the power scaling: Kobe-Wan Kenobi in the live chat saying the web was not stronger than the Immortal. He could have broken through, but not without crushing the others in the bubble.
Oh, that's right. He did. They did say that way.
And that's why they put multiple heroes in the bubble.
Point. See, they figured it out. They're ahead of us. They're ahead of us. But it does feel sometimes that like the Tether Man can get a one up on Mark, and you're like, how is this happening? He's supposed to be super strong.
Yeah. Exactly. And so it's interesting as we like see Mark going through these like situations where you're like, okay, we know they tell us he's invincible. The title card reminds us, but it's got to be interesting for the story. I think a show that kind of does eschew that pretty well is like, if that's the right word to use, is One Punch Man, which is an anime about a guy who.
And we saw him underground. There is a character that looks like One
One
Punch Man,
yeah.
who was in the first season when they had the tryouts, and he's back underground
Yeah.
again. Check out Jessica's breakdown of the episode.
Yeah.
It'll be out tomorrow on the new Rockstars channel.
Today.
Tomorrow. Or is this coming out?
Tomorrow.
Where am I?
You're in anxious. Yeah.
Check out Jessica's breakdown of the first 3 episodes, which is out on the channel today. The new Rockstars channel.
Leave it all in, Alex. Leave it all in.
When we're waking up at 4 a.m. to react to Fantastic Four trailers, staying up late in the night to pump out content, okay, we really value the quality of sleep we get. And Miracle Made, one of today's sponsors, is helping us get that high quality sleep. The temperature you sleep at has a huge impact on the quality of your sleep. If you're constantly waking up because you get too hot or you get too cold, you gotta try Miracle Made sheets. Miracle Made's fabric was inspired by NASA, so it's also thermoregulating. That means you'll sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. These sheets are crazy comfortable, okay? Without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Plus, Miracle Made sheets are infused with silver. It prevents bacterial growth. Ooh. Bacteria, of course, can clog your pores, get all stinky, make you break out. You don't want any of that. So sleeping on Miracle Made sheets is good for your skin. Upgrade your sleep this year. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for a loved one, maybe a hookup, and you're sleeping in their bed every once in a while and you want them to have some nice sheets, that would be a fun thing to do for Valentine's Day. You can save over 40% if you use our code BREAKROOM, promo code BREAKROOM at checkout. You'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Man, towels, that'd be a nice thing to have over at your hookup's place too, right? Miracle is so confident in the product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom and use the code BREAKROOM to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40%. Again, that's trymiracle.com/breakroom to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring this episode and for sponsoring future hookups, but that'll be cut, so that's fine. We're not that far into 2025, but it's already been an intense year. I think we can all agree. There's been a lot going on, and it can be tough to unwind at the end of the day. Via is here to help you with that, okay? Via is dedicated to harnessing the natural benefits of hemp to create high-quality wellness products. Whether you're looking to improve your sleep, focus, recovery, add a little pep to your step, or just get high. Via has something for you. With products ranging from 0 to 100 milligrams of THC, Via gives you the power to blaze your own trail. Via is well known for their award-winning THC and THC-free gummies and vapes, their THCA flower, soothing topicals, and calming drops. They're all crafted with the highest quality hemp, sourced from trusted, independently owned American farms. And the best part? Via legally ships to nearly all states in the US in discreet packaging directly to your door with a worry-free guarantee, no medical card required. I have really enjoyed the 5 milligram Dream Gummies. I actually, no joke, took one last night. Really helped me fall asleep. I was struggling. The Sunday night into Monday work day, I got a lot going on in my brain. I'm worried about the week to come. It can be that's always my worst night of sleep. But I took one of these last night. Boy, I was a rock until I woke up. Okay, so if you're over 21, check out our link to Via's website. The link's in our description. Use code BREAKROOM for 15% off. And if you're new to Via, get a free gift of your choice. Thank you, Via, for sponsoring the show.
This is a great question. Flipside Hero asking, which one-on-one conversation was your favorite?
Ooh.
Or I don't know if you wrote conversion. I think you mean conversation. Favorite or most interesting to watching these 3 episodes. One thing I will say is that when we were watching and covering season 2 last year, especially with the mid-season break, it really felt like, it was like, wow, there's a lot of like different storylines going on. They're not really paying things off in like ways that feel good for the episodes.
There was a lot of Debbie drinking.
I think season 2 was a weird interim season where it was like this transition.
There was a big break in the middle.
Yeah, and season 1 ended on such a high that it's like, where do you go with the characters from there? This season, is feeling real. Like I was like, I am buying every little side story right now that is going on. Like even Debbie trying to like make things work with Paul is like kind of interesting to me. There's like more like an emotional core to it, I guess. I don't know why it's different for me this season, but I'm feeling like a lot more interested in it this season. I don't know if you feel the same way.
Yeah, I do feel that. I mean, my frustration with like Mark and Amber the last season, I think has kind of gone away with Mark and Eve, the way they talk.
Yeah.
You know, at first I was like, ugh, when Mark immediately stupidly says like, well, Future, you said you were in love with me. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
I remember William,
I get that you're
William
19,
is like,
but come on, guy.
William's like too honest, Mark. Too honest.
Also, Mark telling Rick like, oh, by the way, D.A. Sinclair's still alive. I probably shouldn't have told you that. I was like, Mark, what are you doing, dude?
But that comes in a great spot where he's like, I should have killed him, and Rick's like, no, you shouldn't have.
Right.
And I really love that they gave William and Rick this moment for Mark in tandem with Mark to be like, that's not who you are, right? And obviously it's going to be such a big theme. We discussed it at
But yes, I do like that like Mark and Eve were able to kind of move past that moment.
Yeah.
Where Mark
pretty quickly too.
Yes.
Yeah.
That got resolved quickly. I like that. Yeah, my favorite conversation has honestly been like Mark and Cecil kind of arguing with each other.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed that kind of dynamic of like Mark being like, these guys killed people they shouldn't be using. He's like, what do you want me to do with them?
Yeah.
Just lock up. Can people not be rehabilitated? I mean, they did bad things. I'm not. Murder's murder, and it's bad. But like, you know, for me personally, right? I'm against the death penalty because if we want to be a society that says that murder is wrong, then even if someone commits murder, we shouldn't murder them.
Right.
Like that's kind of antithetical to the whole point, right? And that doesn't mean they should ever be let out of prison or anything like that. I just think that like our next move shouldn't be like, well, strap them to an electric chair, fry their brains because we don't know what to do with them.
Yeah,
like we have to find a way to help people, to rehabilitate people, all that kind of stuff. So I do appreciate in this hyper violent world that they live in, you know, trying to find a way to use the donated corpses. We're taking Cecil's
word for it.
Donated corpses. Now I will say about Darkwing, right? Cecil did say, and I quote, there was severe psychological reprogramming with Darkwing. My question is, was it voluntary? You know, did Darkwing want to be severely psychologically rehabilitated, or did he like brainwash him? That's not cool. Yeah. That's bad. Whatever.
I mean, maybe he just gave him, you know, a 1 month paid vacation to Sunshine City.
Maybe. That'll fix up anyone who had to grow up. I think it should be. I like it, Evan. I like it.
Okay.
If I could give you a note. We have Midnight City. I think it should be like Sunshine Town or something like that. Just change the... not two cities is too much. It's too much. I don't know. But I like where you're going. Okay. I love where you're going with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it should be like Noon Town because noon would be the opposite of midnight.
Twilight Town for the Kingdom Hearts heads.
Oh, okay. The golden hour.
Oh, Twilight. Wait. Yeah.
It's Twilight Town. Twilight City? No, Twilight Town.
Yeah.
It's gotta be Twilight Town.
And that's comedy, folks.
But those are my favorite conversations, I think. I have enjoyed like the Mark and Eve stuff and the Cecil and Mark stuff. Now, let's talk about Oliver's conversation. Like Oliver and Mark.
Sure. Okay? Oh, yeah.
I mean, Oliver is a young boy, right? And not just like, he's not even like natural 8. He's like natural 2 months, right?
Yeah.
He's very young and he's growing very quickly.
Yes.
And like his idea of right and wrong is very black and white. And him being like, look, these Maulers are bad. Now they're dead and they won't hurt anyone else. And it's like, you can see his reasoning and his logic, but like that's not how the world is. Not black and white. It is shades of gray all over the place.
Yes.
And it's not up to one person with power to decide who lives or dies.
Especially
just because you can kill someone instantly doesn't mean you get to have the decision or the right to do so.
And especially like a kid that young, right?
Yes.
It's just becomes irresponsible. It'll be interesting to see how often this will come up this season, if Debbie's like kind of like message or like lesson towards the end of episode 3 will really set in with him,
because even Mark can't really even stop him, right? He has a hard time catching him. He's pretty fast, he's learning so quickly, and like I'm wondering if it's possible he outpowers Mark at some point. Like strength.
Oh yeah, because he gets his powers earlier,
right? And he's
stronger.
He's already getting super fast, right? And it took Mark a while to learn even how to fly, right?
Right.
He was crashing all the time, you know, and then when he had to face Nolan, he was barely, he couldn't, he didn't really stop. He stopped Nolan with love, right?
Yeah.
The one thing Nolan didn't have was like love and empathy was his power. But like, that's not going to stop Oliver, right?
Right.
He's too young. Don't give up, Oliver. Oliver and Company?
Nope.
You never saw it.
Maybe they need like a fly swatter or something.
Because he's a bug.
Because he's a bug. I'll stop. Yeah. I mean, I can't wait to see what kind of journey he goes on this season and how far exactly. Because last season we were talking about like the Viltrumite War and some other upcoming big events, and Oliver does like factor into some of these things. Who knows where they're gonna end? We've only seen Nolan once so far in these 3 episodes.
Right, we had a mid-season
mid-credit 1. Yeah.
Still vibing on the ship. Still not joining Alan's cause. Alan still getting stronger. Love to see that.
Alan gets blasted with a laser. He's like, oh, okay, that was annoying.
Yeah, right.
And then Nolan's like, you're alive.
So rude.
So wild. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I had to label a favorite conversation, I will actually say that William and Rick scene with Mark was really good. Just because I think those are 2 characters that I just, Rick was obviously lesser, but William just hasn't had a lot to do. Yeah. And it's like nice to remember that like he is Mark's best friend and give him a reason to like stay around and help ground Mark now that Mark doesn't have Amber anymore, right?
Right.
Like his girlfriend is also someone with superpowers.
And like Eve is on his side, but also like Eve's getting these stories from Mark, and I'm like, Eve, let's not take Mark at his word on a lot of this stuff with Cecil. Come on, like let's hear Cecil out a little bit.
Also, Eve, William, Mark, these are characters we've seen, and Amber to a certain degree, right? We've seen a lot of these characters from season 1. They're slowly changing their looks, right? Yeah. Like besides just like the casual fits.
Casual fits are hot, guys. I didn't know about this, but real fans of the show, they were so excited for like the casual looks. They change each season. I mean, I'm loving Eve's like black or brown coat over like kind of the purple shirt.
Oh, sure.
Very cute. Yeah. Love it. Very stylish.
Yeah. And so it's cool to see that even like in their face shapes are changing and stuff. Because for a second I was like, oh wow, like they look so different. Like as the animation, I was like, oh no, they're getting aging. Older.
They're growing.
Like, there is time.
This isn't The Simpsons.
Passing.
They're growing up a little bit.
Yeah. All right. So there were some questions in the chat that I wanted to hit as well. Let's see. Do you think next episode from Obi-Wan Kenobi, we will see Alan and Nolan and maybe them breaking out? Yeah, do we see them breaking out of the Viltrumite jail at any point this season?
I think it's got to happen. If they're in the jail the whole season, I'm out, dude. Like, that's just too much. Yeah. It's got to happen this season.
Please, because so much time was
I think some people thought it was going to happen by the end of last season.
Yeah.
But, Alan barely got into the jail by the end of the season. So I think, they got to break out. There's no way they spend the whole season. Because what are they going to do? Just vibe? This isn't Oz, okay? This isn't Orange is the New Black.
They start listening to the Batman soundtrack. That like, what's that
Kiss
song?
Kiss from a Rose?
Yeah. No, the Matt Reeves Batman.
Oh, that
one. Yeah.
Something in the way.
Yeah. Sarah had to join, and I think a few other people asking this: is Oliver gonna drive Debbie back to drinking? Debbie got her drinking under control, but we saw her drinking a lot of wine this season.
Well, she was enjoying wine. I don't think drinking a lot. She was drinking responsibly, appreciating it. I think telling Paul that stuff was a mistake.
Yeah,
I mean, not that I think Paul is gonna tell anyone or anything like that, but I think Mark might make a bad decision based on that.
Yeah, I mean, I also guess, I guess you can't say, I guess the world probably knew or knows that Invincible is Omni-Man's son, right? The world at large.
Does the world, that's a good question. Does the world know that?
We'll have to go back and see if Omni-Man ever did like a formal, my son, thing in season 1.
I mean, calling him like Junior Omni-Man or whatever. Omni-Man Junior, is that what he said? I'm Omni-Boy or something?
Yeah, Kid Omni-Man.
Kid Omni-Man? Yeah. That's it. Mark being like,
They don't want to hear that.
Persona non grata on this planito, buddy. My dad was a good guy. Shut up.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear it. It was like, it was not that long ago, my boy. Bad name. I love Art being like, he told me the O was for Oliver. Like he's gonna use the name Oliver Art. You're smarter than this.
Oh, you idiot. God. He's like, I just make the costumes, man.
Hey, don't bother me. Come on.
Oh God.
But yeah, I do think Oliver. I don't know about Oliver. I'm worried about that little psycho.
Yeah.
He's going to be a problem for sure.
Oh, I had this question too. Did you think that Donald died before working with Cecil? That
No.
all of Donald's deaths. So you think all of Donald's deaths are under Cecil's?
Especially because Donald specifically says, "Nice to meet you. I'm Donald Ferguson. I'll be your number one." He says the phrase, "I'll be your number one," which I think is a cute little wink because he is the number one Donald. And then we know we're gonna get 39 other Donalds.
Yeah.
So I think that was because I don't think Ratcliffe was rebuilding Donald.
Yeah. Do you think Donald leans into the robot body? Do you think he starts outfitting himself with more weapons?
Ooh, like he shows off his robot.
Yeah, he goes like cyborg.
He's robot forward.
Yeah.
He should. I mean, he looks the exact same. He hasn't changed. We saw Cecil grow old. Donald looks the exact same.
Yeah.
But if I was Donald, I'd be like, yeah, let's own up to this cyborg body. You know what I mean? Let's really, really get it.
Oh, speaking of we mentioned it earlier, but we get a little bit more of like Rex Splode's backstory.
Oh, yes.
It's kind of like similar to the comics. He was sold to scientists.
Right.
And they kind of like added a bunch of stuff to his body.
Yeah, so in the comics, like his powers came from... It wasn't like he was born with the ability to charge things.
Yeah.
Scientists like implanted stuff in his body, like cybernetic parts in his body to give him that power.
Yeah.
We never knew if that was true on the show or not. They never made it clear. But he said that this episode, and then based on the trailer for this season, and Jessica put this in her trailer breakdown, and I think she mentions it in her breakdown that's on the channel right now when you're seeing this. That we think, like, we got the Adam Eve special after season 1. We think we'll get the Rex Splode backstory special this year after this season as like a special presentation kind of thing. Because the way the diner setup was and all that. Go back and watch our trailer breakdown. That explained for you.
Interesting.
But yeah, I think that was very interesting, and I think it's something we'll see more of with this show, which kind of reminds me of like Gen V and The Boys, where it's like these heroes were not raised normal people, right?
Yeah.
Like they were taken out of their childhood. You know, Eve was born in a lab, and her parents on the show are her adoptive parents. And like I think everyone has like fucked up backstories except for Mark. Like Mark was raised as like a normal boy, and it's like he's the one they're most scared of. But it's like all of these little psychos did not have like normal upbringings, and they don't know how to function in society if they're not heroes.
Yeah, I mean, Shrinking Ray was even told Rex, she's like, yeah, my parents just like forced me to learn how to disarm bombs when I was a kid and all this stuff.
It's like they didn't get the normal upbringing, so I don't know how they could empathize with regular humans when they didn't have that kind of upbringing and they see the world completely differently, you know, and them even saying we're just weapons. Like we're Cecil's weapons, and in a lot of ways they are. Like they haven't been given that humanity they need to like really understand the plight of a non-powered person.
100%. I also like the line where Rex is like, oh yeah, they grafted it onto my body. I was like, oh, is Rex just this like series Wolverine, you know? He's the Wolverine guy. It's grafted onto his body.
Are you saying it's the Weapon Rex program?
That's comedy.
John, you're not clapping.
He's gone.
Oh, that's why he's not clapping.
He's gone. Well, speaking of Rex, one of our regular viewers, Kobe-Wan Kenobi, and I'm sure some other people, if you attended this screening, let us know. They were showing some of the Invincible episodes in theaters.
Oh, that's fun.
And they also had an Invincible themed menu. I'll read out some of the this was at the Alamo Draft House. I'll read out some of the menu options to you. I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
So they had kind of like what looks like a burger. They called it the Hot BM. Imagine that's
Burger Mart is the burger chain in there, but BM is a lovely little joke.
Yeah. So we were guessing that maybe they had a duplicate, but they also had a duplicate burger.
Oh.
Yeah, so
that needs a little retooling.
Yeah.
Duplicate burger? Kind of boring.
Here's one that I think doesn't also make a ton of sense.
Okay.
The Viltrumite vegan burger. Viltrumites would be the last people that would be vegan.
It should be the Thraxon vegan burger, right?
Yeah, but that's maybe too deep cut.
There are people at an Invincible screening for season 3. It is not a deep cut to do a Thraxon reference. Now, if you had like fried crickets, you know, like Oaxaca style, that could be little mini Thraxon bites or something like that.
Yeah, that's true. That mini Thraxon. Oh no.
Yeah, sorry.
We only live for 6 months. All right, here's another one.
Okay.
Alan's alien fried pickles.
But they're not even trying. They're not even trying.
What do you think the Adam Eve is?
The Adam. It's just called the Adam Eve.
It's just called the Adam Eve.
The Adam Eve. It is a pink milkshake.
It's a ritual gin alternative, Libranco grenadine, lemon juice, apple juice cocktail.
Grenadine.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that? I guess that's red.
Yeah.
I guess it would look pink. Okay, I was close.
All right,
A
and
pink drink.
here is the last thing on the menu.
Okay.
It's also another drink. I'll just spoil it for you now.
Okay.
And it's called the Rex Splode in your mouth.
Gross. I mean, it's something Rex would say. I'm gonna Rex explode in your mouth.
It's too much. I do like how often Rex is catching himself. He's like, "That's the old me. Sorry about that."
They should have had the Omni-Manischewitz, where you had like a Manischewitz drink. That was like Omni-Man themed. I don't know. That's the best I could do.
It's just
You know what? Alamo Draft House, it's hard. I'm sorry. I ever questioned it. Give me like an hour to come up with these.
I just think
can't get them on the
Alan's alien fried pickles is
It's such a miss.
lazy.
Though, if I remember correctly, doesn't he like fried pickles when he eats at the diner with Mark?
Maybe
Maybe he likes that. Maybe that is more of a deeper cut than I think it is.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
He likes the burgers, I remember.
Yeah. You could have done Alan alien apple pie.
For some reason, like Alan the alien onion rings sounds.
Oh, that does sound good.
Sounds
yeah,
a little more.
And like
spacey.
it could come on like a what we think is a UFO, not like an
Yeah. You could have the coalition of planets where it's plain burgers. Okay, this is hard. This is hard.
all right, Alamo. We
This
forgive
is hard,
you.
Alamo.
Forgive
I'm
you.
so sorry.
Oh, God.
The reanimated chicken nugget. The reanimated nuggets. I don't know.
Is there a chicken one? Chicken sandwich? Fried chicken sandwich?
Fried chicken sandwich. The hot fried chicken sandwich. Something like that. You could do the
Doc size
or the Magmites chicken sandwich.
That's a deep cut.
The Magmanites. They're not that deep. They were in this episode.
I'm seeing some in the chat right here. Cody Kenobi. Invincible Burger is right there.
It's a burger.
That's
It's right
good.
there. That is
that's
much better.
That's easy.
The Invincible Burger. Yeah. Why
What was
their
their burger? Oh, the big, the hot BM. Yeah, just call it the Invincible Burger.
Yeah.
Christian Unpronounceable saying Omni Mango Salad.
Okay,
That's good.
I'm getting
That's
that. Getting
good.
there.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, let us know your Invincible
Yeah, right.
themed menu items.
For season 4, for the premiere, we'll have them ready for him.
Well, yeah, I guess we'll be watching along this season. We're not quite sure if we're going to do every week just yet. We have a lot of other content that's coming out that we're covering. We obviously have, clearly like these first 3 episodes a lot.
Right.
And hopefully we'll be able to do some type of coverage in some form.
Yeah.
Whether
definitely
week to week or mid-season, finale, something like that.
Yeah. We can't promise week to week right now, but
Yeah.
we'll definitely keep covering the show as it keeps coming out.
Yeah.
So keep watching along if you like it, and let us know what you like most about it. Let us know what your favorite moments were in the comments below. And that's it for us today. Make sure to subscribe to the Breakroom channel right here on YouTube, and give us a follow on Twitch, where we do videos like this live. Follow Breakroom and R on all our social channels like Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, all of that. We'll catch you next time. Latest gators. Goodbye.
Yeah.